Life's getting more expensive. You know it is. I feel it as well. A new report says 1 out of 3 Americans that are earning at least $250,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. How can that be? I'm going to break that down, add some more context, help you through it. That and more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. We all know it's getting more expensive to live your normal life, the life that you've been accustomed to thanks to inflation. I'm not even talking about the CPI, like real life, which is getting more expensive than what the CPI suggests. But recent data, this headline caught my eye. Call it clickbait, probably hit yours as well. 1 out of 3 Americans that's earning at least $250,000 admitting they're living paycheck to paycheck. It's hard for them to stretch that money. That's a lot of income. Hard for them to stretch it to the next payday. They're running out of money. Get a load of this. Specifically, 36% of Americans taking home $250,000 or more. I mean, that's even bigger, guys. That $250,000 or more are running out of money by the next paycheck. More than 40% of those earning at least $100,000 say the same thing. That is surprising, and that's disappointing, and that's scary. Normally these things, just because I'm a certified financial planner on a team of CFPs, we see thousands of cases every single year. Normally these things don't surprise me. This just surprises me, but here it gets worse. 61% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck as of April 2022. That is 9 percentage points higher than April of 2021. That's inflation. And I'm not just saying, oh, that's inflation. See, I told you it was there. I told you, Fed. No, guys, that's a scary increase. So, my goodness. Are these numbers, like, what does this suggest? Is this now putting in a new baseline that, listen, you got to make $250,000 in America just to make it? I would argue no, okay? I would argue no. The numbers that I look at, that I've looked at over my career, that we've looked at KFG to see, okay, what's the basic baseline? Because once you earn over a certain amount, it's really just lifestyle choices and preferences. That's why someone earning $100,000, 6 figures, or $250,000 can be paycheck to paycheck simply because of lifestyle choices that they've made. And it's tough. It's a tough reality, but we make our bed. We've got to lie in it. And that's why I have encouraged you and urged you during this inflationary time, make sure you're not overextending yourself. Make sure you're not overextending yourself. And that can be, as your income grows, your taste will grow as well. As your income grows, you will likely buy a bigger house, buy nicer vehicles, go out to eat more, do other lifestyle things that certainly, by all means, go ahead and do those things. However, if that's pinching your paycheck or making it such that you're running out of money before you get to that next paycheck, likely you're sacrificing on goals and other things, which it means you're out of balance. Some people look and say, well, the federal poverty level, that's sort of the baseline. I disagree. The MIT has come up with the living wage calculator. They did this back in 2004, which is coincidentally about the time I started my career. So anytime, like, as we've worked on budgeting and serving clients, and I get it, clients that have said, folks that have said, oh my goodness, am I going to need to file bankruptcy? When in fact we take a look and say, no, you just need to make different choices. And it's hard to sacrifice and live in a different size house or go out to eat not as often, go to different stores, shop less, those sorts of things. But how do you have the objectivity of making those decisions? I've looked at this living wage calculator. Now check this out. So Dr. Glasmier and her colleagues or team over at MIT came up with this as basically how much money would someone need to earn based on how many adults that are working in the household, how many children are they supporting. to cover basic needs, because the poverty level, federal poverty level, is really just to make ends meet, right? But this is cover basic needs. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to get the new iPhone every time it comes out, and you're going to have a nice fancy smartwatch and all the choices that you might say, well, geez, that's really what I want my life to be about. No, this is just covering your basic needs. It might not be the size house that you want or the neighborhood that you want. It might not be private school for the kids or whatever, but covering your basic needs. Check out the calculator for where you live, or play around with it. Look at New York, look at California, look at Chicago, right? Where I live, Northern Indiana, the county that I live, it says that one adult with no kids needs to earn about $15.80 per hour, working 2,040 hours a year, 2,080 hours a year, I believe it is. And so roughly 33 grand. 33 grand, an individual, one adult, without taking care, with no dependents, that's going to cover your basics. Now, you might look at that and say, well, you might think two things. You might say, well, you can't live on that. Well, based on certain choices, right? But you might also say, well, then that should be the minimum wage. Well, I'm not going to get into that debate either. Minimum wage isn't necessarily supposed to be a standard living, right? You might, at minimum wage, hopefully you develop more skills, whatever, so that you're making at least this much, or working multiple jobs or whatever, so that you can earn this much. But take a look. That's about 33 grand a year. And if you're two adults, both working, and you have two kids, so that's like the stereotypical family, that total household income needs to be around $86,000. I would have guessed probably around $75,000, but that's because my guess was likely before all the inflation that we felt over the past 12 to 15 months. Take a look, check it out for yourself, and see, well, am I earning, if you're feeling a little bit more paycheck to paycheck, a little bit tighter than you want things to be, or if you're humbly going to admit, hey, yeah, I'm in that statistic, that 61, that 2/3 of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, I'm feeling that right now. Humble yourself and take a look and say, well, just covering basic needs, what's the living calculator say for my area? And if you're making more than that, this is going to be hard, but take a look, what adjustments could you make in some of your choices to get things so that you've got more margin? So what do? If you are feeling this paycheck to paycheck, okay, number one, take a look at this calculator, get some objectivity, but you've got to update your budget. And that is hard work, and you've got to take a hard look at how much income is coming in, make sure that it's enough, find ways to increase that income, whether that's more job or like more hours or another job or adding skills, something like that. But then take a hard look at your expenses as well and say, what adjustments could we make? I'm just going to tell you right now, last night we had leftovers in the fridge, or we could go out to dinner. We chose to go out to dinner. Right? And I could have easily, and it's more I'm more hardwired to say, no, there's food at home. We're going to eat at home. Okay. We all have those micro choices. My daughter just the other day, actually yesterday, while we were going to the tournament, she said, oh, I wish we could have stopped at Starbucks. And I told her, she's 12 now, so she gets these lectures from me. Well, honey, a Starbucks is going to be $3.50, or Keurig cup is 33 cents per cup. So there you go. That's why we did that. So we all have those micro choices, and I don't mean to bring those to a conscious level to shame you for it, but if you're feeling this financial pain, if you're in more of that paycheck to paycheck mode, or maybe you've had to sacrifice on some of the goals you hoped that you could achieve financially, time to take a hard look at reality and say, well, what choices are you making that maybe you could make a different choice to have a different feeling in your budget every month, or create more room for some other priorities so that you're saying yes to the right things, living intentionally a certain way financially to get a certain result. That's the first thing that I would tell you to do. Second thing, you might be feeling or living paycheck to paycheck because there's not enough built-in margin in your financial life. Listen, some of the expenses that you have on a month-to-month basis are variable. Some of them are fixed. They're going to stay the exact same every single month. Some of them are variable, okay? So make sure that you're building a budget so that you've got built-in margin, because if your property taxes go up, if what you used to pay at the grocery store, if that all of a sudden goes up, even though just because prices went up, not because you're making different choices. If gas prices go up, you've got to make sure that there's margin so that you can adapt to those times. So maybe that's the second thing you need to do. Third thing that I would tell you to do is most people budget wrong. They only budget looking at how much money comes in and how much money goes out. That's only effective is if every month looks the exact same, and it doesn't. You're going to have expenses that you're going to say yes to, that you've already said yes to, that are non-negotiables. They're needs, not wants, that are going to come up every other month, once a quarter, once a year. And if you haven't planned appropriately for those, then you're not budgeting correctly. If your budget only looks at, well, if June looks the same as July and July looks the same as August and blah, 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 that's not how life works. You've got to have a 3 bank account system so that you know how much money is coming in and how much is going out every single month and for what reasons for your regular monthly expenses. But you also need to look out as far as you can and say what expenses are going to come up on the horizon that don't happen every single month. And how much do I need to be setting aside right now every single month so that when that expense comes up, I've got the money set aside to cover it so it doesn't need to come out of my monthly budget and break that budget. Some of you are feeling paycheck to paycheck because irregular or non-monthly expenses keep popping up and they're breaking your normal monthly budget. You're budgeting wrong. You need that 3 bank account system. And that's the last thing that I would tell you to do is that third bank account's that emergency fund. That if when life throws you a curveball, when all of a sudden your hours get reduced, like we're seeing in some RV factories, or something comes up out of the blue that you all of a sudden, it's not a want, it's a need. You need to say yes to this. If you don't have any margin in your cash, not your cash flow, but in your cash, you don't have any cash reserves, that's going to pinch your budget as well. So work that 3 bank account system, update your budget, make sure there's margin, work that 3 bank account system. Your certified financial planner that's doing comprehensive financial planning should be helping you with all of that. If they're not, you can contact a CFP on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com, that's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com, you can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.